That I didn't get.
It's not possible. We'll go ahead and call the council meeting to order. Mary Jo, roll, please.
Rodick.
Here.
Ron Van Kirk.
Here.
Meg Ryan Shaki.
Here.
Andy Selhertz.
Here.
Kathy Pucci.
Here.
Aaron Borowski.
Here.
Kevin Tansky.
Here. All right, we do have a public notice for the Community Development Block Grant and also the Cuyahoga Development Supplemental Grant. So I will read this. This is a public hearing for those. Welcome to the public hearing for the Community Development Block Grant and the Cuyahoga Development Supplemental Grant. Cuyahoga County receives Community Development Block Grant funding each year directly from the Department of Housing and Urban Development. The county makes these funds available to the city through a competitive grant application program and allows funding requests up to $150,000. The funds are to increase city viability by promoting decent housing and a suitable living environment while expanding economic development opportunities. The national object is to benefit low to moderate income persons or to aid in the elimination of blight. Specifically, initiatives eligible include community master plans, infrastructure, streetscapes, community and senior centers, housing and commercial demolition, public safety, parks and playgrounds, and other initiatives as outlined by 24 CFR 570. In addition to the CDBG funding, the county has also created a competitive grant program in 2017 called the Community Development Supplemental Grant, CDSG. Grants of up to $50,000 will be available to all communities in Cuyahoga County, as well as community development corporations within the county which meet certain criteria. Activities that meet CDBG requirements will be eligible, but they do not need to meet the low mod or slum blight objectives, allowing much more flexibility in their scope. As part of the HUD requirements to qualify for CDBG funding and county rules for CDSG funding, cities are required to hold a public session. Notice for this public session was publicized last week, October 5th, in compliance with the HUD requirements. The county recommends grant applications include comments from residents. So if you were unable to make tonight's meeting, but wish to have a public comment about the subject, please don't hesitate to contact the mayor at kagallagher@brooklynohio.gov, or you can reach her at 216-635-4221. At this time, I would ask any members of the audience to come up to the podium if you wish to make suggestions to the administration on ways this funding should be allocated if granted by the county. All right, there is no one. Again, anyone in the audience can email the mayor or make that phone call as well. All right, thank you. If you have not added your name to the sign-in sheet at the back of the room, please do so before you leave. All right, and that will conclude our public hearing. All right, we'll now begin our council meeting. Would you please sit and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Would you please join me in prayer? Father, we thank you again for the chance that we have to gather tonight as a city council. We thank you for the residents and members of the audience that have chosen to be with us here tonight. I pray this meeting will be productive, that we would make wise decisions for our city. Please continue to bless our mayor and her administration as they make day-to-day decisions and give council wisdom as well. Lord, we thank you for this town that we're able to call home. Pray that you please continue to bless it. We pray in Jesus' name. Amen. All right, the first item on our agenda this evening is the approval of our minutes dated September 26th. Any comments or questions on those minutes?
Motion to approve.
Second.
To approve the minutes, Sue Rodick.
Yes.
Ron Van Kirk.
Yes.
Meg Ryan Shaki.
Yes.
Andy Selhertz.
Yes.
Kathy Pucci.
Abstain.
Aaron Borowski.
Yes.
Kevin Tansky.
Yes.
At this time, we will have the public session. If anyone in the audience is in to say for the good and well for the city of Brooklyn, please step forward and state your name and address and you'll be recognized. Please remember to keep your comments to 5 minutes or fewer.
Rob Slattery, 6600 Bucyrus Drive. I was hoping the mayor was going to be here, but I'm probably going to get the same response from that empty chair that I get from her on a bi-weekly basis. On June 29th, 2022, the mayor threw the on-duty firefighters out of the safety finance meeting. The only agenda item was the staffing of the fire department. On September 26th, I attended a council meeting spoke during the public session, and I asked the mayor a few questions, but the most important question was, why did the mayor throw the firefighters out of that meeting? The mayor refused to answer my questions and simply ignored me. On September 27th, I happened to bump into Councilwoman Pucci at a school finance meeting, and I asked her if she knew why the firefighters were thrown out, and she had no idea why. I thank you for answering that question. September 29th, I emailed the mayor and asked her the question again. Once again, I was ignored. On September 29th, I emailed every other council person and asked them the same question. I got 2 emails back. Councilman Selhurst responded to me that he said he had no idea why. And then I got an email from Councilman Borowski, and all he stated was I'd be better suited contacting the mayor with that question. That was not an answer to the question, and I had already asked the mayor twice with no response. So now that makes that same question ignored by 5 council people and the mayor twice. When did it become the norm for this council and this administration to ignore the taxpayers when they submit questions through a normal email or regular submission? I'm going to jump back in time for a little bit of an example of how things go here. On August 24th, 2020, a rec center worker was disciplined for failing to adequately answer basic questions to customers at the rec center and not answering the phone and letting it go to voicemail. This employee got a 15-day suspension. The building department secretary had numerous complaints about her, and the city now has spent more than $6,000 to hire a life coach to teach her to be nice. This same employee was forced to make a public apology to a resident for her actions. I guess it truly does pay to be the mayor's friend. I know more than a few residents who have complained about making calls and leaving messages to the city hall and getting no response. What would happen if a police officer or firefighter just ignored the public who speak to them and ask questions? You know they'd be disciplined. We witnessed in this very council chambers, the council pro tem throw out a resident and violated his free speech just for talking about a public record that was tied to the mayor. Sadly, no council person or the law director stepped in to stop that violation. The city employee manual, section 8.1, subsection A, states the following. All employees are expected to maintain the highest ethical and moral standards and to perform within the laws of the state of Ohio and other rules and regulations set forth by the employer. It is important to remember the compensation of all employees is paid through public funds. Therefore, each employee assumes the responsibility to serve the public in an honest, effective, and friendly manner. Section 8.2 of the personnel manual states the following. Employees are expected to conduct themselves in a professional manner at all times. This includes loyalty to the goals of the city and their respective departments, courtesy and tact when dealing with the public and fellow employees, and presenting a neat professional appearance. All employees must consistently refrain from discussion of confidential natures in the open areas of the city. As far as the fire department needing more firefighters, I started digging around and I submitted a records request to Mr. Raguse, the finance director, for the overtime totals for the fire department. Fire time totals from January 1st, 2022 through August 31st, 2022 was $241,795.78. That averages $30,224 and some change. So if you take that average over the last 4 months of the year, the grand total is $362,693. To hire, per the contract that's in now for the firefighters, to hire 3 new firefighter medics, their cadet year would be $301,189. Their first full year, $325,572. Their second year, $351,744, and then the final year is $358,785. How is it feasible to keep running our fire department with a short staff? You're destroying this fine department. Your chief is telling you what you want to hear out of fear for his job. He needs more firefighters to adequately protect the city and its residents and visitors. Again, Mayor, I must remind you, you have no experience as a first responder and you're putting us in danger. And then I had a question for Chief Paul, but he's not here. He can watch the video. Chief Paul, have you requested additional firefighters be hired to boost the manpower in the years 2021 or 2022? I will ask you again, Mayor, why did you throw the firefighters out of that safety meeting? Was it to hide the truth from coming out? Mayor, do you think you serve the public in an honest, effective, and friendly manner when you ignore them? I will remind you of policy 8.1. It is important that you remember that you're paid through public funds. Mayor, you need to stop looking down your nose at us like we're the great unwashed. We demand better and deserve better. If you refuse to answer these questions, I'll be back in 2 weeks to ask them again. I won't go away and I won't stop asking questions.
Anyone else have anything to say for the good and welfare of the city of Brooklyn?
Yes, good afternoon, council women and councilmen. My name is Twain McGee. I'd like to thank Councilman Bronowski for this invitation here. Me and my associate, Mr. Emmanuel Young here, I am a former precinct committeeman in Cleveland, former candidate for Cleveland City Council, and I'm currently a human rights activist, nonpartisan. We're here to bring the awareness of human trafficking here to the city of Brooklyn and within Cuyahoga County. Reuniting with Mr. Young here from high school, he has brought to my attention that human trafficking is a very serious issue here in the state of America, here in the state of Ohio and within America and all over the world. So we're here to provide our sources to Brooklyn and all over the state and all over America if possible. So yes, that's why we're here. And Mr. Young.
Afternoon, evening, councilmen, councilwomen. My name is Emmanuel Young. I am a human trafficking self-defense instructor. I teach people how to escape from illegal detainment, handcuffs, zip ties out of people's trunks, hand-to-hand combat. I do workshops every month. I have a workshop this month, October 22nd. It's going to be at the Nova Performing Arts Center. The address is 1846 Coventry Road, Cleveland Heights, Ohio, 44118. Again, the name of the building, Nova Performing Arts Center. Address 1846 Coventry Road, Cleveland Heights, Ohio, 44118. Pre-registration is $100, and it's going to be $100 at the pre-registration is $100. The deadline is the 15th. At the door is $125. Now, my goal is to get people to think outside the box. Being captured is only a state of mind. If you are captured and you know how to escape, then you are not fully captured. You know, like if a person is homeless and he has the knowledge to build a house, then he's not technically homeless if he has the tools, the knowledge to build a house. So I can't promise to save everyone, but what I can promise, if we all work together, we can lower the percentages down. So I really thank you guys for inviting me. Thank Councilman Bronowski for inviting me to the City Hall meeting. Thank you guys, appreciate it. And this is the flyer for anyone that's interested. I'll show you guys afterwards. So, thank you, appreciate it.
Appreciate it. Thank you. Anyone else? Have they say for the good and welfare of the city of Brooklyn? Okay, we'll now move on with reports of our committees, commissions, and boards. We'll begin this evening with our Recreation Board, Councilman Tansky.
Thank you. Good evening. Safety Town Trick or Treat will be held on October 27th from 6:30 p.m. to 7:30 p.m. Register at www.brooklynrec.com. Brooklyn Youth Basketball for grades 3 to 6 will run from November 2022 to March 2023. There will be an 8-game regular season plus playoffs, 1 to 2 weekly practices. Practices and home games to be held at Brooklyn Middle School Fieldhouse. Practices begin the week of November 7th and games in January of 2023. Coaches will manage teams and parents will be contacted in November by their assigned coach. If anyone is interested to volunteer coach, let them know at registration. Away games to be held in Middleburg Heights, Brook Park, North Olmsted, North Ridgeville, Columbia Station, Fairview Park, Westlake, and Strongsville. Register now through October 15th at www.brooklynrec.com. The Rec Board meeting has been changed. The next Rec Board meeting will be held on October 20th in the Rec Center Media Room at 7 p.m. That concludes my report.
Thank you. Next up is our Domestic Abuse Commission representative, Councilwoman Bradshaw.
Thank you. We are collecting donations in recognition of Domestic Abuse Prevention Awareness Month through starting today through the rest of the month of October. A box is available in the police station lobby. You can drop off diapers sizes 5 and 6, baby wipes, dish soap, Clorox cleaning wipes, laundry detergent, Kleenex, body soap and lotion, and deodorant. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up is Planning Commission, Councilwoman Gross.
Thank you. Planning Commission met on October 5th. The first request we approved was from Neon City Signs for an illuminated wall sign at Tier 0 at 4790 Ridge Road. We approved a request from Kinney Horn for a site plan approval for a drive-through ATM at 10002 Brook Park Road. That was pending the police chief's approval also. We also approved a conditional use, which is on the city council's agenda also, for OIS, conditional use for a truck terminal in a general industrial district at 8800 Clinton Road. And our last one was a request from Ladd Signs for an illuminated wall sign for Advance America at 6750 Bidoff Road, and that was also approved. Our next meeting is November 2nd at 6 p.m. And that concludes my report.
Thank you. The Committee of the Whole met at 6:15 prior to the start of our council meeting to discuss the following. The first item was that confirmation of conditional use that Mrs. Grodick just mentioned for that OIS properties, and I'll read that letter whenever we get to it in the agenda. Legislation under old business, the first item, and all these next three were up for third reading and adoption, and the committee did recommend council adopt. The first of which was to establish a donation box impound fee. This is a $17 per day fee for boxes for gathering of clothing and other items that are placed on property without the permission of the owner or without proper permitting for that. Then next was Resolution 2022-33. This is approving and adopting the Cuyahoga County 2022-2027 All Hazards Mitigation Plan. This is a plan that's put together by the county with input from the various safety forces chiefs. In this case, it was Chief Paul that assisted with this, and this is adopted every 5 years. Next is Resolution 2022-34. This authorizes the mayor of the city of Brooklyn to pay a 2023 wage increase in accordance with the wage reopener language in the collective bargaining agreement with ASME, Local 3218. This is a 3% increase. We've talked about this at several other meetings, and again, council did recommend that the committee did recommend that council adopt. On second reading this evening was Resolution 2022-38. This is authorizing a community cost share agreement with the sewer district for the 2022 street sweeping project. These funds that are a part of this agreement are very limited in scope, and we will be using these funds for the street sweeping project. Any man hours that were accumulated for that would come from this agreement. And then the last item under old business was Ordinance 2022-25. This updates the City of Brooklyn's ordinances with current practices for the work of our fire safety inspectors. Again, we discussed this a couple of meetings ago as well. And then the last item on our agenda was Ordinance 2022-27. And this authorizes the mayor to enter into a lease agreement with PCs for People Minnesota LLC. And this is in partnership with the Cuyahoga County PCs for People Broadband Expansion Program. And we're still kind of gathering information on this, but basically the county is partnered with this company, and they want to use space on the roof of our rec center as well as our fire station to put up antennas and other things in order to offer broadband internet here in the city of Brooklyn. Again, we're still gathering information on that, and we'll of course pass that along as more information is available. And that was on first reading. Additionally, we had a little bit further discussion on the snow removal program. Mrs. Pucci was absent at the last meeting, so she brought up a point about possibly furthering that program into as far as for our seniors, not just making that income restrictive. so we will look into that. Basically, it's going to come down to what that costs, what the man hours are going to be. So Mr. Verba will add that to his list of things to do, look for this as well. Then we had a very brief discussion from Mr. Borowski that a couple residents had mentioned to him about possibly having chickens come into our city. I know this has been discussed many times over the years, and so maybe we'll have another discussion about that. So that took place at 6:15. A committee of the whole, all are welcome to attend. That takes place right here in council chambers. This time we'll have our report from our school board liaison, Councilwoman Pucci.
Thank you. The school board had a work session on October 4th. On the agenda was the first reading of changes to various policies. All of these are available on board docs by following the link from the school website. The board met on September 20th, and I'm just going to go over the highlights. It was a very lengthy agenda. The results of the school report card were reviewed. They announced that the schools received a $100,000 safety grant, and they are also applying for a second grant. The schools are now live on the state treasurer's open checkbook site. As I said, it was an extensive agenda. There were many items that are pretty typical for the beginning of the school year, relating to agreements with partners who provide services to our students, staffing, supplemental assignments, approving substitutes. So all the detail is available at the school's board doc sites. I attended the school finance forum, which was on September 27th, and I have to say that it was very disappointing that more residents were not in attendance. The focus was the current state of the schools and the renewal levy, which is issue 4. This was originally passed in 2013 and renewed in 2018. There was an explanation of how property taxes are calculated and then assessed, and this renewal represents $19.83 per month for a home valued at $100,000. And just to be clear, a renewal means no increase in taxes. There was a discussion and a review of the school's accomplishments and capital investment and how the schools have best leveraged pandemic funds to address student needs. There was also a discussion of the pandemic and rescue funds, which are being used, and the fact that these are temporary, and they also have restrictions on how they can be spent, and they must be spent by September of 2024. Thank you to residents Steve Herbick and Vern Cutright, who have volunteered to lead the renewal campaign, and also to resident Greg Marcus, who is the volunteer treasurer of the renewal campaign. Some upcoming important dates. The yard signs are already out, so if you need one, please contact a school board member or the schools. This Saturday, October 15th, will be the first literature drop, so please try and give a little time to this effort. And any student who does volunteer for this will receive service credit time for this. I'm not sure of the time yet. They didn't have it when it was announced, but I'm sure we'll be seeing something come out this week, or you can contact the schools. There will be a second lit drop on Saturday, October 29th. There is a great video highlighting our schools, and it has been posted on social media, and it's also available on the school's YouTube channel. The next regular school board meeting is Tuesday, October 18th at 6 p.m. at the high school in room 173. And there is a community meeting Wednesday, October 19th at 6 o'clock. It's in the Brooklyn Acres Community Room, which is in the ad building, and that address is 6301 Woburn. Finally, congratulations to our schools. Our preschool and high school were recently recognized with the 2021-2022 Bronze Award for Positive Behavioral Interventions and Supports, known as PBIS. And this was by the Ohio PBIS Network and State Support Team Region 3. Both schools were part of a select group of 375 schools recognized across Ohio for their award-winning PBIS implementation efforts. PBIS involves teaching students behavioral expectations in a consistent and positive manner. modeling the behaviors, providing positive reinforcement, and taking steps to help all students successfully achieve expectations. In addition, PBIS has been demonstrated to improve the overall school climate as well as positively affect student achievement and behavior. All awarded schools will be recognized at the 2022 Ohio PBIS Showcase, which will be held virtually on December 6, 2022. Congratulations to the teachers and staff at Brooklyn Preschool and High School for their award-winning efforts in implementing PBIS and promoting student growth at their respective buildings. And that completes my report. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll now move on with reports of council. Begin this evening with Mrs. Grodick.
Thank you. Just a very short report. First, I would like to thank Mr. McGee and Mr. Young for making time to come speak to us. If you have a flyer to leave here, that probably would be a good idea. If someone is watching the video, they might call City Hall for more information. Also, just good luck to our Cleveland Guardians. The game has started. The series against the dreaded New York Yankees starts tonight, and I'm going to keep my report short so that we can get home a few minutes earlier and catch up on the game. That ends my report.
Thank you. Mrs. Ranchaki.
On Monday, October 17th at 7 p.m., the Brooklyn Library Branch will host English language learners and new English speakers and their families to learn about library programs and services available to support them. Light refreshments will be provided. We're at the end of National Hispanic Heritage Month, which occurs from September 15th to October 14th. The purpose of this month is to recognize the contributions and influences of Hispanic Americans to the history, culture, and achievements of the United States. In 2021, Ohio's Hispanic and Latinx population reached over 500,000 people after rising steadily over the last decade, joining 21 other states that have over 500,000 people. In Northeast Ohio and Brooklyn, we have a big population of people who are ethnically Puerto Rican. For all of our Hispanic and Latinx population here in Brooklyn, I hope you were able to celebrate National Hispanic Heritage Month at one of the events around Greater Cleveland. And finally, our next and final community cleanup is on Saturday, October 22nd. We'll meet at the Home Depot parking lot at 9 a.m., rain or shine. Hope to see you there.
Thank you. Mr. Summers.
Thank you. Just two things. 2 weeks from today, October 25th, is the last fresh fruit and produce giveaway at St. Elias. It starts at 3:30. Please do not arrive too early. Sorry to all the individuals that rely on this program that showed up last month. Due to a mix-up in dates between the Greater Cleveland Food Bank and St. Elias, it didn't happen. So my apologies to all of you. And with the school levy, which is a renewal, if your financial situation is that you can afford it, please vote yes to support it. And that concludes my report.
Thank you. Mrs. Pucci.
Thank you. I'd like to first thank our safety forces who participated in the Walk with a Hero walk to school on, I believe it was October 5th. And this was in conjunction with Walk to School Week. I know in the past I've participated in this walk numerous times, and it's just so exciting for the students to get to walk to school with our firefighters and police officers. So I'll ask the chiefs to pass that on to our safety forces, how much it's appreciated. And I also am trying to keep it brief tonight, but regarding the election, today is the last day to either register to vote or change your name or address, and that's actually up through 9 o'clock. So if there's anyone here that needs to do that, you could actually get one of the forms at the library or here at City Hall, or of course they're available at the library. Tomorrow begins early in-person voting and vote by mail. And there are various times that do fluctuate for the early in-person voting. So for example, starting tomorrow through October 28th, weekdays it's 8 to 5, Then Saturday, the 29th, they open up from 8 to 4, and then it goes on from there. So that is another good way, if you still want to vote in person, but to get your vote in early. And I would like to encourage everyone to please support issue 4, which is a renewal. A strong school system is the backbone of all communities, and it's very important and needed. In addition to all of the people who are running, the candidates who are running for election, I just wanted to run down very quickly. There really hasn't been a lot of publicity about the issues. So issue 1 is statewide, and it's a proposed constitutional amendment. And what this states is, if it passes, it would require the courts, when setting the amount of bail, to consider public safety, including the seriousness of the offense, as well as the person's criminal record and the likelihood that a person would return to court. Issue 2, which is also statewide, a proposed constitutional amendment. This one is interesting because basically it prohibits any local government from allowing a non-elector to vote. It just reaffirms that you have to be a citizen, along with all the other qualifications, being 18 years of age before you can register to vote. Issue 4 is our own local issue, the renewal for our schools. Issue 5 is a proposed replacement for Cleveland Metro Parks. The Metro Parks is keeping the 2.7 mils that they currently collect. The difference is, instead of renewing it at the old valuation, they're replacing, or they're asking us to replace it at the new current valuation of our properties. And then finally, issue 6 is a renewal for the Cleveland Cuyahoga Port Authority. And that completes my report. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Borowski.
Thank you, Council President. Please remember that on Thursday the 27th, that there will be a Halloween trunk or treat event taking place at Brooklyn Point at 6 p.m. located behind Mark's on Northcliffe. I'd like to also say thank you to Mr. Young and Mr. McGee for coming up and speaking about the unfortunate situation of human trafficking. I met them after the 9/11 event that I had put together last month, and they seemed very eager to want to be involved in the community, not just locally, but regionally, to help those in need. And a quick reminder that October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month. Some of the statistics on this disease, this year alone, an estimated 288,000 women, as well as 2,700 men, will be diagnosed with breast cancer. More than 40,000 women will die this year in America alone from this dreaded disease. My mother, Marcia, is one of those that lost their lives in 2013 to this disease. So this month is extremely important and very close to me about spreading the word for those that would be seeking early detection and support. The National Breast Cancer Foundation's number is 1-972-2489-9200. There is resources for you to reach out and get help. Again, that number that I've got off their website is 1-972-2489-9200. And that concludes my report.
Thank you. Mr. Tansky.
Let me make it quick and short too. I don't know if anybody has mentioned it, but just a reminder, the trick-or-treating is on Monday, October 31st from 6 p.m. until 8 p.m. for anyone wishing to participate. Have a fun and stay safe. And that concludes my report.
Thank you. Just one item. This evening on our agenda, Resolution 2022-38. This is the Northeast Ohio Regional Sewer District. I spoke at length with Chief Paul regarding this, kind of just curious as to how this information is put together. And I want to thank the chief that he puts a lot of time and effort into gathering all the statistics from these types of things that happen in Brooklyn to put this document together. And I plan on voting for this tonight because It does not bound the city of Brooklyn to anything financially or legally. However, I am not in agreement with the premise of much of the county provided information in this document. There's a lot of unsubstantiated statements made inside of there, as well as data samples that are far too small to reach the conclusions that were, in my opinion, unsubstantiated. So I just hope in the future that there can be more of a dialogue, at least at the county level, to see this document have more accurate assessments of what's going on in regards to some of these mitigations for the county. All right, that is all I have for my report. The mayor is absent this evening, as you that are here can tell. And we do not have any director's reports, and so we will begin with our legislation. The first item we have is a confirmation of conditional use for a truck terminal. I'll read the letter from our building commissioner, October 6, 2002. It says, "Dear members of council, the Planning Commission at its regular meeting on October 5th, 2022 granted a conditional use approval for Ohio Intermodal Services, LLC, located at 8800 Clinton Road," and Mrs. Grodick just alluded to this a moment ago in her report. "The following conditions were set. The fence is to be replaced, the exterior area cleaned up, the parking lot repaired and repaved within 6 months, and also a 1 year after occupancy conditional use review. That the approval by the Planning Commission now requires confirmation by a majority vote of the council pursuant to section 1141.02A5, and that comes from our building commissioner, Mr. Hurst."
Move to approve the conditional use contingent on them adhering to the conditions and stipulations that are set.
Second.
To confirm the conditional use, Sue Grodick.
Yes.
Ron Van Kirk.
Yes.
Meg Ryan Shaki.
Yes.
Andy Selhertz.
Yes.
Kathy Pucci.
Yes.
Aaron Borowski.
Yes.
Kevin Tansky.
Yes.
Resolution 2022-31 is up for a third reading and adoption, establishing a donation box impound fee. Comments or questions?
Move to approve?
Second.
To adopt, Sue Grodick.
Yes.
Ron Van Kirk.
Yes.
Meg Ryan Shaki.
Yes.
Andy Selhertz.
Yes.
Kathy Pucci.
Yes.
Aaron Borowski.
Yes.
Kevin Tansky.
Yes.
Resolution 2022-33 is up for a third reading and adoption, approving and adopting the Cuyahoga County 2022 to 2027 All Hazards Mitigation Plan.
Move to adopt?
Second.
To adopt, Sue Grodick.
Yes.
Ron Van Kirk.
Yes.
Meg Ryan Shaki.
Yes.
Andy Selhertz.
Yes.
Kathy Pucci.
Yes.
Aaron Borowski.
Yes.
Kevin Tansky.
Yes.
Resolution 2022-34 is up for a third reading and adoption, authorizing the mayor of the city of Brooklyn, Ohio to pay 2023 wages in accordance with the wage reopener language in the 2021 to 2023 collective bargaining agreement with the ASME Ohio Council 8, AFL-CIO Local 3218 clerical employees.
Move to adopt.
Second?
To adopt, Sue Grodick.
Yes.
Ron Van Kirk.
Yes.
Meg Ryan Shaki.
Yes.
Andy Selhertz.
Yes.
Kathy Pucci.
Yes.
Aaron Borowski.
Yes.
Kevin Tansky.
Yes.
On second reading is Resolution 2022-38, authorizing a community cost sharing agreement with the Northeast Ohio Regional Sewer District for the 2022 street sweeping program. Up for third reading and adoption is Ordinance 2022-25, amending section 1501.03 of the codified ordinances of the city of Brooklyn to conform the work of the fire safety inspectors to current practice.
Move to adopt?
Second.
To adopt, Sue Grodick.
Yes.
Ron Van Kirk.
Yes.
Meg Ryan Shaki.
Yes.
Andy Selhertz.
Yes.
Kathy Pucci.
Yes.
Aaron Borowski.
Yes.
Kevin Tansky.
Yes.
On first reading this evening is Ordinance 2022-27, authorizing the mayor to enter into a lease agreement with PCs for People Minnesota LLC in furtherance of Cuyahoga County's PCs for People broadband expansion program. That is all we have on our agenda. Is anyone from the administration or anyone on council that need to add?
May I be recognized? Okay, so with my council reports, I gave the wrong phone number. It is for the National Breast Cancer Foundation. It is 1972-248-9200. I had an extra 2 in there. Yeah.
All the numbers. All right, thank you for that correction. I appreciate that.
Move to adjourn?
Second.
To adjourn, Sue Grodick.
Yes.
Ron Van Kirk.
Yes.
Meg Ryan Shaki.
Yes.
Andy Selhertz.
Yes.
Kathy Pucci.
Yes.
Aaron Borowski.
Yes.
Kevin Tansky.
Yes.
Thank you, everyone. Have a blessed evening.